We're so happy to have Isabel with us this morning, and she's going to welcome you. And I have a little bit of a cold, so my voice sounds really funny. I'm not going to talk that much, but I'm so pleased to be here and this pre-holiday meeting. And I'm so glad that our own Jude Traibman is going to give the reflection this morning. And it's very exciting when people sort of do their first reflection for our group. And she's going to be assisted by Dorothy. So Isabel, I'm handing it over to you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Just want to welcome all of us here, and also welcome those of us who are not here, even if they're not here, for us to send them a warm embrace, a welcome that they may experience anywhere they are. And I also want to invite an ancestor who didn't have this, but had something else, had other things that they did to come together. And I think that today topic, it's so appropriate. And also as we enter into the week of gratitude and appreciation, that we are also appreciative for all of us who are here in community, sharing and breaking bread together. Both for those of us who will be celebrating the holidays, the figuratively bread and the other kind of bread. So welcome, and I think I'm passing it over to June.
Okay, thank you, Isabel. Welcome, everybody. Good to see all of you, all of your faces. All right, do I just start?
Well, maybe you'd like to introduce yourself a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Something about yourself, whatever you want us to know. We don't need formal introductions, but what's meaningful to you to tell us?
Okay. Well, my name is June Traibman. I thoroughly enjoy this group every single week, and I'm so grateful to have it and to have Lynn and Dorothy and Melinda and everybody who organizes it, and Preston, everybody, very grateful. And so even though I'm nervous, I'm happy to give back too. And okay, so I guess the other information about me is I'm 78. I mean, I feel it's important to say that because age feels like a big topic these days when you're in it. I guess that's the best way to say it. It's like a new world, actually. Anyway, that's a whole nother topic. I was a therapist for over 40 years in Manhattan. I'm from New England. I'm married. I have 2 children, wonderful relationships that I cherish, and you'll hear more about that. And I live in Brooklyn. So I'm more or less retired. I have 1 or 2 people who will not go away. When I say 1 or 2, 1 regularly and 1 whenever she needs me. And I did retire because I believe it's important for me anyway, to have different stages, and retirement's a good one. Anyway, so that's about it. Thank you. Should we start?
Yes.
Okay. So as you know, the topic is the gifts of difficult times, life lessons and guides. And that's actually very important to me. I'll be talking about 2 experiences in my life that form guiding insights that I have cherished and used throughout my life. The first guiding insight is show those you love that you love them. Truly see them as they are in the here and now, and be a loving presence with them. That's the first one. Be present. Don't take those that we love for granted and get so busy with the rest of our life that we can't be there for all the wonderful experiences we can share together. The second insight is look deeply inside to see where you are and what your self needs in difficult situations. And I came up with this before focusing, but focusing today is a very important part of it. Check in with yourself to see where you are and what you need. Okay, so those are the two life lessons. To elaborate on the first one, show those you love that you love them. This is about, okay, let me just check my time here. Okay, 8:40. Okay. This one is about when I was growing up in New England. My father owned a supermarket. Actually, he had owned two of them. One of them in Lynn, Massachusetts, a highway came through and we had to leave that one. But he had a second one in Marblehead, Massachusetts. Anyway, this market was famous in its area for his wonderful fruits and vegetables and wonderful, the best meats. He took such joy in owning this market, doing the shopping. He loved to go to Boston early in the morning, 6 o'clock. He would go over an hour away to the markets to buy all the fresh food, bring it back. And then he loved being with the people. And also, when he was growing up, his father had a small market where they lived, and he helped out there. So it was just in his blood, and he loved it. Then when he was in his late 50s, things started to change. Big chain markets were coming in, like A&P, Stop and Shop, and business started trickling away. I mean, that's number one. And then the second thing was that a new highway, a new road was going to go through town. And to make this new road, which was necessary, they needed his space. So all these factors contributed to his needing to give up the store. So he was in his late 50s at this time, almost 60. And he was home. He couldn't find another job because of his age. And it became a downward spiral for him. He sat home depressed. And my mother at the time, I mean, my sister was away in another state dealing with a young marriage and children. She was kind of overwhelmed herself. And I was teaching at the time in Cambridge, Mass. So he was at home, unable to find another job. My mother was away. She worked in a hospital and she loved it. She loved, I was going to say, hobnobbing with the doctors and she really enjoyed going there. So she was away every day, and he was sitting home depressed. But, you know, I mean, on the one hand, in hindsight, I say, oh, couldn't she have spoken to some of the doctors about what he was going through and maybe what kind of help he could use? But, you know, there are different reasons why maybe not. In those times, we weren't so aware of, well, at least we weren't, depression and medications. I mean, that wasn't talked about. I mean, because we're talking about over 50 years ago, right? I mean, I say over 50 years ago, it feels like yesterday anyway. So that's what was happening. So then one night, in the middle of the night, he left home, drove to the bridge spanning Boston Harbor. And, you know, he jumped off the bridge and killed himself. And they didn't find him for several days. I mean, when I think about the traumas, I actually had to drive. I mean, I got a phone call that he had disappeared. I had to drive over the bridge where they found his car and his footprints, right, in the snow. It was in the middle of the winter. I mean, that's why in December, it's usually brings up difficult memories for me. Anyway, so, right, I had to drive over that bridge, get home, and we had to wait 1 or 2 days before they found him. And then when the police came to the door and my mother answered it and they told her, she fainted. And my first thought was, I didn't know you cared so much. Now, as I said, I was in my 20s. I have no idea. It just automatically came up. I didn't know you, because she fell and fainted, you know, when they told her. And that has remained in my consciousness. And that is when I came up with my first life guide. Show those you love that you love them in the here and now. I just want to say that through the years, I've developed much more compassion for both of them, but especially my mom. Of course, I was devastated at the time. Today, we know so much more. And we know that we're all, I mean, my mother was a workaholic. My father was a workaholic. And we just know that we're all affected by our parents, our life scripts, roles we've been given, and expectations put upon us. So, you know, I've developed much more compassion for both of them. But that life lesson, show those you love that you love them. That means look deeply into the other that's with you. Talk to them, take time to share their joys and pains. Quiet down, make our relationships important, prioritize. Which brings me to the second experience about prioritizing. My second insight, okay. So the first one was show those you love that you love them in the here and now. The second insight came when I was 42. I was pregnant. And I had gone to the doctor who took a picture of my body. I guess it's called a sonogram, right? The doctor looked at the baby and her position and said, it will be at least a week before she comes. To celebrate, as we were near Avenue J in Brooklyn, I said to my husband, let's go out to dinner. We did, and it was delicious. Later that night, I began to feel uncomfortable. At first, I thought it was the food I ate. And then I thought, oh, maybe it's the baby. So I said to my husband, let's go to the hospital. So we went to the hospital and I was examined, and the staff told me, yes, the baby's going to come tonight, but not until much later. You can go home and relax. So I sat there for a minute, doing a focusing look inside. And then I said, go home. Thoughts or pictures of my husband delivering our baby in a cab on the way back flashed through my mind. And I said, you know what? If you don't mind, I'm going to sit here, in a chair on the side. I won't bother anyone, but I feel safer here. So they said, all right. 1 hour later, my baby girl was delivered very safely and happily. Lesson learned, trust your inner self to do what you need to do to keep your mind and body safe. And that's a particularly important message in these times. Look inside. What do I need to do to keep mind and body safe? So those are my 2 life lessons. Trust your instincts. Take care of yourselves, all of you. Enjoy and be well.
I just wanted to say thank you, June, for this heartfelt share and the way in which you share it. And also to add that one of the things that, at least in Buddhism, they talk about is the 10,000 joy and the 10,000 sorrow. And that at some point in some monastery, some of the prayer is to ask for, like literally ask for suffering, to pray for suffering. And I really, really appreciate these 2 sort of like both life, both of this life transitioning, one life ending and another one beginning. And that sort of like constant shifting and changing that I know I've experienced, and how to sit with that in a way that is compassionate for myself and others. Thank you so much, really appreciating that. And that piece about trusting ourselves and trusting my instinct rather than being dismissive about it. Thank you.
Thank you for your share.
I want to also thank you, June. That was a very beautiful offering. And I think that we unconsciously learn from experience. And it's wonderful when we can really reflect on what we're learning and sort of consciously participate in the process of what we make of our experience and what we take from it. And you're helping us to do that. And focusing helps us to do that. That it's not just something automatic that our organism does, but something that we can bring awareness to.
Yeah, this is Anesi, June. Thank you so much for your share. I was so moved by it that I kind of felt like I needed space to be with all that's inside me. There's joy, there's sorrow, but also you reminding us to take time not only to pause and be with those we love and share our love for them, but to pause and trust our inner guidance, and to pause and just be with that when we feel something strongly. And it's the holidays, so we are going to be spending time with family, this week, but we'll get busy again. And it shouldn't just be, the holidays. A reminder to consistently let those we love know we love them. It reminds me too, June, once I was in this Buddha's Zendo or something, and there was this little booklet. It was tiny, but when you opened it, it opened into an accordion, and each were little lessons like yours. And I said, I wonder if June is continuing to share those little nuggets of her life, You shared 3 with us, but the little book had like 100. When you opened it up, it was like all these little nuggets of, I really appreciate it, June. Your sharing, your honesty, your
Thank
experience. Thank you.
I wanted to say, June, how much, let's see, how much I appreciated your decision to be so open and honest about your first incident, and just having walked with you and all the different journeys and questions and wonderings you were taking in preparing. And I'm just so grateful that you told the story as you first told it to me in all its rawness, and that you had the courage to do that, and that you trusted us as a group, that some part of you knew we would fully accept and love you for all that you shared with us. So really, thank you for that.
Thank you.
June, this is Shashi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. I think that learning to see and accept as parents, as people in our own lifetime is a gift, because it's very difficult to see our parents as people, and you did, to see your mother as somebody who cared so much, and she didn't show in your judgment, right? Because I had similar experience. So now I'm realizing that anytime with any of your close family or relatives, if you could see them as people and not as defined by you in your relationship, is a gift, So thank you for sharing. You were very young and you realized that, right?
Mm.
You saw this, and I had similar incidents in my life, but I was much older than you to realize that. So you were good. You were good.
June, I want to say also, in knowing you through the years and going through what you've been through, I appreciate your vulnerability today and your openness and your being able to share such a painful time in your life. And I know when I spoke with you earlier at another time, I was feeling very protective of you and thinking, oh, June, you shouldn't share this. Don't be so vulnerable, because in my protection of you, I was concerned. And I'm glad you did share. I'm glad that you were able to and have the strength and courage. And it takes strength and courage to share what you shared in front and be with all of us. And finding the gift that you found. That's so important, because we go through terribly painful experiences in our lives and not necessarily find the gifts in there. And you were able to in both experiences. And in knowing you, you have such a joy of life. You always have. And, despite the pain in your life, you have faced the sun all along. despite things. So I appreciate that in you.
Thank you.
The strength that you've developed from the painful situations that you've gone through is obvious in who you are today. As we listen to you and hear you in all of these different groups. So the strength has been obvious, but I didn't know the depth of the pain that you went through to achieve what you've developed.
Mm. Mm.
And it sounds like you were able to do that at a pretty young age, which is pretty amazing. It took me many years of therapy to develop some strength from some negative circumstances.
Mm.
So it's, thank you so much for sharing. It's quite and always the reminder to let the people in my life know
Mm.
how much I love them.
Mhm.
And I tried to do that more freely today than in the past. So that's a wonderful reminder.
Thank you.
I'm thinking about that lesson of letting the people know how much you love them. And my brother died yesterday, and he's 12 years younger than I, and he isn't in my life very much. He lives in Tennessee and lives a very different kind of life. But I've been feeling such love for him. And one of the things that I realize is that the feeling the love comes before showing the love. That if I show people love because I want them to know that I love them, it won't be the same as if I take time in a focusing kind of way to just savor what's special about each of the people that I love and what they give me. And then the showing comes out of that experience, and I don't have to tell myself to show it. You know, it just flows from this place in me that knows it deeply and that prizes it. So it becomes something that is taking in the gift of the other, and then the showing my appreciation or my concern or my care or my tenderness just comes without my needing to do something. Although I think doing something is also really important.
Lynn, can you elaborate on that point a bit more? Is learning the feeling of love through focusing before you express it?
Well, I'm not saying before, it's not prescriptive. I'm just noticing in myself that as my brother has been very sick and he's been very much in my mind and my heart, and just even as June was speaking, I was thinking of these different aspects of my brother and the miracle that each person is, and the miracle that he is, and what he represented and was and gave me. And it just comes very, very naturally. It's sort of holding a space inside myself for the love, I think, that I'm talking about. Focusing is a way of loving people, really.
Thank you, June, for sharing your little bit of your life and vulnerabilities and what you learned from it, the gifts. And as you were sharing, and as others shared too, I was thinking how important it is to say to people we love that we love them, even when we are maybe ending the relationship, which sometimes happen,
or when it ends and you don't end it, not always by death. That capacity that we can have, right? And focusing help us with this to hold both. There is this that is challenging and not working anymore in this relationship. And there's all of this that I will keep cherishing and that I love. And yeah, right now I'm exercising that muscle of holding both, being true to the something that's happening in the relationship now, and being true to the history of that relationship as well. So, and to be able to express it too in the moment or in the here and now. That's so important. So yeah, thank you for, it's very apropos.
Well, thank you, June, for your vulnerability and just for being willing to do this. Because like I said, I'm doing this next week and it's scary and exciting and all these things. So you're my hero right now. And Lynn, I know last week you shared how very sick your brother was. And I'm glad you shared and we're with you, and to be in the love. I guess I'm thinking how brave it is to be in such love when there's so much loss, because to feel the love maybe makes you feel the loss even more. So that's what I was hearing when you were sharing, that you're in the love, but that can lead to being in the loss, and just how that works. And thank you for just bringing yourself. And this is so very fresh. And you always use yourself and your experience, and it helps on a lot of levels, and I hope it's helped you.
Yes, it has.
Good.
Hi, June. Hello. Hi.
Hello.
I kind of like, in a way, it's like feeling the feelings that your story touched me. It was like spellbinding, just listening about your dad, your father, and the supermarket and who he was, the identity of this man. And then the steps he took, and just going, bringing us through the story, but that us can only be me, because I was the only one that could experience it in my body, And I was really struck by the feeling of love comes before showing the love, and just the challenge that show those that you love in the here and now, It's like the belief of doing that, belief that what we feel is so different to our identity or our story. It's that almost we wouldn't be believed. So I'm really sorry for your loss, Lynn. Just an end that, again, it's just almost remembering 2 or 3 times you mentioned your brother. So it's now that's the next step, and knowing, he's gone, and me not knowing him or that, So, and I'm just sort of stuck with wondering how focusing can make explicit what's implicit in us, in our stories about love. When you mentioned your mom, you didn't know she cared, and yet it's like, well, yeah. How could she not? It was her husband and the father for her children. So it's kind of almost a myth that we can't care. And I'm just thinking about like the stuckness. We stay with the spot where it's stuck, or, So at least one of us has moved, you know, so really just thinking of that man that loved these 2 supermarkets and his father before him, and you brought it to life, and the value of that. And you said it was in his blood, you know, and yeah. So I'm sorry he didn't find something else in his blood that brought him forward. So thank you so much for the privilege of hearing your story. Thank you.
Thank you, June. This is my first time meeting you, and thank you for revealing yourself so fully to me and for sharing the wisdom of your lived experience and your capacity to bring loving awareness to others and to yourself and to that interaction, and to be with life, with others as they're living their experiences, and with yourself as you're living your experience. You've truly inspired me. Thank you.
June, thank you so much. I'm feeling very emotional because my dad lost his mom in a similar way. And I lived with his struggle with that my whole life and his depression around that. So what comes across to me is the immense strength that you have and your journey. I feel that there's a journey with that. So the lessons that you've imparted are from that journey. And that's what came up for me, was the strength and all the journey that you've had. So that's what I'm feeling. So it's hard for me to speak, but I just had to share. So thank you so much, and sending you so much love.
Thank you.
I'd just like to comment too on sometimes expressing love has a vulnerability all on its own. And sometimes people hesitate to speak the words or to show the feelings because of that vulnerability, which is a shame, but it seems like it's sometimes part of the human experience. It's just, I've just found, as I've aged, as I find age also, I'm also 78, and it's one of the lessons that I've learned over the years, that to speak it and show it is important as I experience it. Even if somebody does think I'm a little, I don't know, too much.
Nancy, I just want to share, as you shared that about age, you know, in my culture, I'm Dominican, and in Latino culture, you know, our elders are so wise and important, you know, all that they have to bring. And there's just, you know, so much wisdom. And just when June, when you said, you know, I'm 78, and you kind of grounded that there, it's like, you're so full of wisdom, and everybody here just brings so much of their life wisdom and all that. And I just want to honor that, just share how important that is for me to hear you honoring that within yourself.
Thank you.
Hey June, it's Ethan. How are you?
Hi.
It's been a while.
Yes, hello.
Yeah, I don't want to frighten my mother because I think she's in here too. But I was up. I was up last night thinking about and usually I sleep pretty well nowadays. But I was up last night thinking about a time from earlier in my life where I didn't want to be here any longer. And it's interesting, you know, that you're sharing this today. It's
Oh my.
yeah, and I think I want to express too that I've always felt loved by you. June and I are family friends, but and I think that's important that I let you know that too, because I don't always think to do that.
Ah,
Um,
mm, mm.
and just that I'm listening, I'm trying to listen to that feeling I had. So I had a bunch of different feelings going on, and I was almost nervous that I wasn't gonna say anything. So I'm glad I am speaking now, even though I'm not sure where I'm going with it. But
Mm.
um,
Mm.
but yeah, I think that that saying kept coming to mind too, like love thy neighbor as thyself. And that's definitely, I think, applicable here, because I think I need to honor my own pain and let it be like a fruit or a treasure that you can share to help other people and help ourselves in doing that also.
Mhm.
So I appreciate that. I honestly don't know if I knew that part of your story.
Mm.
Even though you've known me before I was fully conscious, I would imagine. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's I appreciate being here, and I want to express to you that I love you and that I love everyone here. So
Thank you, Ethan. I love you too.
thanks, Junie. And I also know your lovely daughter, for whom the second part was about.
Right, exactly.
And please remember that loving your neighbor as yourself includes loving yourself, because that's so, so important also.
Thank you for that sharing, Ethan. It was meaningful.
And thank you for that sharing. You're a wonderful son and a wonderful human being. And I appreciate your vulnerability as well. And June, I wanted to say to you too, look at all the love you've gotten today from your vulnerability.
So
you
much.
know.
Mhm.
And here I was frightened about being protective of you. Oh, how are you going to feel revealing so much? And look at all the love you're getting back. So, and thank you for being here, Ethan. I appreciate it.
It really helped me to hear you, Ethan, because showing my grandchildren that I love them it's very difficult to know where they're at and how much to reach out to them and how they might react. I'm very careful about being too nosy or inquisitive and to hear you say that you just weren't sometimes aware, and I remember being a teenager and a young person and not being aware of my parents, not being aware of them as people, and so it kind of behooves me to take the first step. It's all kind of jumbled right now, but it helped to hear your side of the story. Thank you.
I once read a book called The Gifts of Compulsions, or just what the gifts are. It reminds me of that Japanese, Lynn, we talked about it in class where the pottery was broken.
Oh, yes.
And then the strength of it when it's put back together. There's a name, it's called something, maybe with a K, maybe somebody knows.
Yeah.
Cajun, yeah,
Yeah, just remind, the gift of cracking, or the gift of, different painful experiences. And so that, what did someone say the name was? I didn't get that. Oh, here it is. Wabi Sabi. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say, just that, that there really is, if you listen to yourself, more self.
I think you're talking, Robin, about kind of pottery where the cracks are filled in with gold.
It's
And I
it's
can't
katsuki. It's katsuki.
imagine-
I put it there. Katsuki.
Oh, great. Thank you.
It's a beautiful practice where you crack the bowl and then you put it back together with gold, and it has all these cracks to remind us that from this beauty has been created from all these experiences that kind of cracked you open a bit, and then you kind of put it whole. There's a beautiful YouTube on it, Katsungi. Lynn, I have to just send lots of bows of appreciation to my breakout group, and Stefan and Nancy, and to the whole group in general, and particularly to June, who opened this very open-hearted talk about anybody could pick anything from her sharing. So we didn't know what was going to evolve, and what evolved was what needed to evolve in our group. And so it was so moving. And I leave open-hearted with what life has to bring, June, be it sorrow and joy and all the things life brings us, and how we become and who we become, from all our experiences, how we survive. So I deeply want to thank you, and I'm so honored to be here today with your share.
Could I just say, I am so touched by everyone's response. I am so touched. And what I want to say in part is, so this is an example for all of you who may think about sharing, that we have such a wonderful group that is so warm and lovely and accepting. So keep it in mind if you ever want to share. Right. Thank you.
I want to underline that. Yes.
And again, June, I want to thank you for your vulnerability and your openness, which carried over to our group, which enabled me to be a little more vulnerable as well and talk about some old trauma in my life. And so I want to thank you again for your openness and your strength.
June, I became aware that I have to make a couple of really important phone calls after this talk with you. You know, my family's all over the world, so I have to make some important phone calls. But I'm taking what Lynn said is to become aware of the stock in your mind first before you churn it, you know, to share it or chill, you know. I think it's awesome. It's really a very important human strength in a way that we could do this, right? And it's always like an epiphany at the end of this, that this is the next step forward. So yeah, good for my a good little punching to wake up.
Be gentle.
Right, Sashi.
Okay, well, it's good. Yeah.
Good for you, Sashi. Love in action, right? Go for it.
No, but reflect first. Learn what that is. Feel it in your heart.
Right.
Taste it, savor it. Get into the depth of it, and then do it.
Right. I like that word, savor it.
Then it becomes more spontaneous and more real, and not just, you know, I think. I hope I can find the words of exactly what I want to say when I say something to somebody that comes from the bottom of the heart. And, I don't know.
Maybe the most precious words are the words that we can't really say, sort of like we understand in focusing that the felt sense is kind of beyond words, but the words don't really, the words point in a direction rather than capture something.
A hug will often say a lot. And I'm wishing, Lynn, that I could give you a hug as you miss your brother.
You.
So sorry for that. Yeah, there's no way through this silly computer screen to actually.
Oh, there is. I feel it. I definitely do, Nancy. I feel the hug. And I think June feels all the hugs she's been getting.
Oh, for sure. Thank you very much.
June, I want to tell you again, I just so appreciate you letting me accompany you on this journey. It's been really meaningful to me that you allowed me to be a part of it. And
my gratitude to you, right, for being a kind, sensitive, hearing, relating person. Thank you so much.
I want to thank you also, Dorothy, for all the holding you've been doing for the group and assisting June. And, it's sort of midwifing, helping the person who's just about ready to be born into being a reflector, to actually do it. Such an important job.
Just want to say that love is such a powerful force, because in our breakout group, I was sharing my love for my mom and I was feeling very vulnerable. But toward the end of the group, my mom texted me.
Wow.
She hears me. So
Wow.
even just feeling that love can be felt.
Wow.
In our breakout room, we talked also about finding the words from the body, which is a very focusing way from our body experience, the river of experience in our body. And that was a nice reminder, was the progress of my letter right now for this person I lost. And from all the responses and different opinions and feedback from other people, and to really return back into the own wisdom of my body and my own experience around it. And Sashi, what you were asking about finding the words, I feel like usually this is where I find them.
Because they can see you.
Where am I?
Oh. He didn't know he could be seen, sorry.
Eleanor.
Oh, that's lovely. Tell him he was very welcome.
Sorry, so great, sorry.
Hey, Dorothy.
The Journey by David White. Above the mountains, the geese turn into the light again, painting their black silhouettes on an open sky. Sometimes everything has to be inscribed across the heavens, so you can find the one line already written inside you. Sometimes it takes a great sky to find that to find that first bright and indescribable wedge of freedom in your own heart. Sometimes, with the bones of the black sticks left when the fire has gone out, someone has written something new in the ashes of your life. Someone has written something new in the ashes of your life. You are not leaving. Even as the light fades quickly now, you are arriving.